Now we'll study about Akbar, who ruled from 1556 to 1605. He was the greatest ruler of the Mughal dynasty and one of the greatest ruler of India. He brought glory to the empire and is called Akbar the Great. His full name was Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar, and he was born on 14 November 1542 in Amarkot when his father Humayun had been in exile. Akbar at that time accompanied his father and mother Hamida Bano Begum to Kabul, where he was left behind, and his parents they went off to Persia. When his father returned to India, he came with him. I am also telling you children some extra things about Akbar which are not written in your book. In the year 1551, Akbar used to take the lessons from Mulla Sada. He always requested his tutor to give him some free time. He was very fond of animals. He devoted a lot of time to the animals at that time. He learned riding. He also learned how to play sword. But he never learned to read and write. He enjoyed hearing others when they used to read out to him. He also enjoyed painting. And when he was of 13 years of age, he was appointed the governor of Punjab. But this didn't trouble him. Okay, and he was busy in shooting and hunting of antelopes. Then, in the year 1556, he became king. At that time, he was just 13 years of age. And Bahram Khan, he was appointed as his regent. Now, what is regent means? Regent means a person who generally rules on behalf of his king. So, when Akbar came to power, he defeated Hemu. Now, who was Hemu? He was the general of the Afghan forces in the second battle of Panipat. In October 1556, Hemu, who was the chief minister and the general of Adil Shah, he occupied Delhi and he declared himself as the ruler. Then, in November 1556, Akbar and his army, under the guidance of his regent Bahram Khan, they met the Afghan forces on the historic battlefield of Panipat. And there, you know what happened? Hemu was defeated and killed, and the Afghan power was crushed, and thus threat to Akbar's throne was completely removed. A few years later, he ended the regency of Bahram Khan and he himself took over the government. Do you know why he did so? It was so because Bahram Khan, who was acting as his prime minister and was controlling his army and administration, he was very arrogant, and just because of his rude behavior, he had many enemies. Encouraged by his family members, Akbar told Bahram Khan that now he wanted to take over the reign of the kingdom in his own hand. So, for complete 4 years, Bahram Khan acted as his guider who guided him. And after 4 years, Akbar became his own master and he made Agra as his capital. Then he conquered Gwalior, Ajmer, Jaunpur, and in the year 1561 he also annexed Malwa. Then Akbar offered a hand of friendship to the Rajputs. He promised to let them rule peacefully if they acknowledge Mughals' authority. He said that they can rule peacefully only if they accept the authority of the Mughals. But he fought only those Rajput rulers who were not in their favor. And in the year 1568, Akbar conquered Chittor and Ranthambore. He defeated the Rana Pratap of Mewar also in the battle of Haldighati in the year 1576. So, when did he defeated the Rana Pratap of Mewar? In the battle of Haldighati in the year 1576. Akbar built a vast empire. He conquered Gujarat in the west, Bengal, and also the other parts in the east. He annexed many parts in central India and in northwest. He annexed Kashmir, Sindh, Kabul, and Kandahar to his empire. And in the Deccan region, he brought Berar and Khandesh and some parts of Ahmednagar also under his control. Moving further, we'll now study what were the policies used by Akbar. Akbarnama. Now, what is Akbarnama? Akbarnama is a document written by Abdul Fazl, and it is a documentary which tells us about the biography of Akbar, in which the detailed description of Akbar's life was mentioned. Okay, it tells us about his reign and his policy. Now, firstly, we'll discuss about the Rajput policy of Akbar. Akbar realized that if he wanted that he should be accepted as a king of an empire in India, then he thought that it is only possible only with the support of Rajputs. So he gave all the important posts to the Rajputs and other Hindus in his administration. He defeated them, but he never humiliated them. He treated them very respectfully. He allowed most of the Rajput kings to continue ruling over their territories, and he never interfered in their internal matters. He allowed people to get themselves married in Rajput families, and he himself also married a Rajput princess, and her name was Jodhabai. You can underline this in your book. His sons also took Rajput princes as their wives, and the Rajput ladies, they were given the complete religious freedom. This means they were allowed to follow their own religion. He also gave high posts to the people, means to the Rajput chiefs in his administration, and there were two trusted officials who were Rajputs only, and they were Raja Mansingh and Raja Birbal. So this completes your Rajput policy. Moving ahead is religious policy. Now Akbar realized very early that if he wanted to establish his empire, he thought that to gain it was very much necessary that he should gain the confidence of his Hindu people, because Hindu were in majority. So he followed a policy of religious tolerance and mutual coexistence. He was a liberal ruler, and he believed in equality and unity of all religions, and that's why he followed this policy of religious toleration. He employed many Hindus in his government, and he also gave many of them high ranks. People were allowed to worship their own god, means they were given a complete freedom to worship as they like. He also adopted many measures to show his secular spirit. Secular means he allowed people to practice any religion of their choice. So secularity means you are allowed to practice any religion of your own choice. What measures he adopted? The first measure that was adopted by Akbar was that he abolished the pilgrim tax in the year 1562. So when he has abolished this pilgrim tax in the year 1562, and he also abolished Jizya in the year 1564. Jizya was a religious tax on the non-Muslims, so it was also being abolished by him. He abolished the practice of forcibly converting prisoners of war into Islam, and he allowed sometimes even encouraged the Hindus to build their temples, and also provided various kinds of aids to those temples. He participated in the Hindu festivals like Holi, Diwali and Raksha Bandhan, and he got the holy books of Hindus translated into the Persian language. So this is all about the religious policy. Next is Ibadat Khana. Now what is Ibadat Khana? See, Akbar was very much interested in learning about the different religions. So he built Ibadat Khana. Ibadat Khana, now what is Ibadat Khana? Ibadat Khana was basically a hall of worship, and it was at his new capital, that is Fatehpur Sikri. Here he held debates, discussions with his religious teachers of all the religions. A few years later, he founded his own religion. And you know what is the name of that religion? Din-e-Ilahi, or the meaning is divine faith. After interacting with the people of different religions for many years, Akbar concluded that all religions preach the message of love, respect, and peace. Means he interacted with many peoples, and what conclusion he got? That all the religions are teaching the same thing. All the religions are giving the same message of love, respect, and peace. So he thought if the common ideas of all the religions could be combined into one form, this will benefit the people of his empire. So he suggested that religious path about which we have discussed, that is Din-e-Ilahi. His Din-e-Ilahi stressed in belief on one God. He also declared himself that he was the spiritual guide of his subjects. Din-e-Ilahi was a simple path. It encouraged belief in one God. The practice of worshipping the sun, fire, and other sources of light was an important element in it. Now, what lesson he gave to the people through Din-e-Ilahi? Through Din-e-Ilahi, he said that the killing of animals should be discouraged, the custom of sati should be discouraged. His Din-e-Ilahi was basically aiming at peace, tolerance, and unity in the country of different religions. Din-e-Ilahi was not a new religion. It was not having any rituals or a sacred books or a place of worship or priest. It was only a code of moral conduct. But many few people accepted it. Out of many, Raja Birbal, he was the one of the few who accepted it. There were some other also who totally disapproved it, like Raja Man Singh. Akbar never forced anyone to follow it. Din-e-Ilahi faded out after the death of Akbar. This means it didn't survive for long after his death. So this completes your topic of Akbar. Now we'll study about the next Mughal emperor, Jahangir.